Mango was a boy who loved living in the forest with his animal friends. He had a special bond with them, and they treated him like one of their own. He learned how to climb trees, swim in the river, and find the best fruits and nuts for his friends. His favorite friend was a monkey named Banjo, who was always cheerful and curious. Mango and Banjo had a lot of fun together, exploring the forest and playing games. They also helped each other when they were in trouble, such as when Mango got stuck in a thorny bush or when Banjo lost his way in a dark cave. They were inseparable, and everyone in the forest knew them as the best buddies. One day, however, something strange happened. The sun was shining brighter than ever, and the air was hot and dry. The forest felt like an oven, and the animals started to feel sick and tired. They couldn't find enough water to drink, and their fur and feathers were sticky with sweat. Some of them even fainted from the heat. Mango and Banjo were worried about their friends. They wanted to do something to help them, but they didn't know what. They decided to ask the wise old owl, who lived in the tallest tree in the forest. He knew a lot of things, and maybe he had a solution for their problem. They climbed up the tree and found the owl sleeping in his nest. They gently woke him up and told him about the situation. "Owl, please help us," Mango said. "Our friends are suffering from the heat. They are thirsty and weak. Is there anything we can do to make them feel better?" The owl opened his eyes and looked at them with a serious expression. "My dear children, you are facing a very grave problem," he said. "This is the hottest day in 100 years, and it is not going to end soon. The forest is in danger of drying up and burning down. You must act quickly, or else you will lose your home and your friends." Mango and Banjo gasped in horror. They couldn't imagine losing their beloved forest and their friends. "What can we do?" Banjo asked. "Is there any way to cool down our friends in the forest?" The owl thought for a moment, then nodded. "There is one thing that might work," he said, "but it is not easy to find or make. It is a special mixture that contains coconut water and coffee bean extract. It is cooling and refreshing, and it can restore energy and vitality to anyone who drinks it. The rain will only come and save the forest after your friends gain their energy. Save your friends first, and the forest will be saved." "Coconut water and coffee bean extract," Mango repeated. "Where can we find them?" The owl pointed his wing to the east. "Coconut water comes from coconuts, which grow on palm trees near the beach," he said. "Coffee bean extract comes from coffee beans, which grow on bushes in the mountains. You will have to travel far and wide to get them both." Mango and Banjo looked at each other with determination. "We can do it," Mango said. "We will get the coconuts and the coffee beans, and we will make the mixture for our friends." The owl smiled and nodded. "Very well," he said, "but be careful. The journey is long and dangerous. You will face many obstacles and enemies along the way. You will need courage and wisdom to overcome them." "We have both," Banjo said. "And we have each other." The owl gave them a blessing and wished them good luck. "Go now," he said, "and hurry back with the mixture." Mango and Banjo thanked him and left his nest. They climbed down the tree and ran towards the east. They had no time to waste. They ran through the forest, dodging branches and roots. They jumped over rocks and logs. They met some of their sick friends along the way, who asked weakly where they were going. "We're going to get coconuts and coffee beans," Mango explained. "We're going to make a mixture that will cool down all of you." Their friends cheered them on and wished them well. "You can do it," they said. "We're counting on you." Mango and Banjo smiled and waved at them. "We'll be back soon." They said they continued their journey until they reached the edge of the forest. There they saw a vast expanse of sand that stretched to the horizon. It was the beach. They had never seen anything like it before. They felt the hot sun on their skin and the salty breeze on their faces. They heard the sound of waves crashing on the shore and saw seagulls flying in the sky. They smelled fishy odors from shells and seaweed that littered the ground. They were amazed by this new world, but they didn't have time to explore it. They had to find coconuts. They looked around for palm trees that bore coconuts. They spotted some in the distance, near a rocky cliff that overlooked the sea. They ran towards them as fast as they could, but as they got closer, they saw something else that made them stop in their tracks. It was a group of pirates. They were wearing ragged clothes and hats with animal skulls on them. They had swords and guns in their hands and parrots on their shoulders. They were laughing loudly as they drank rum from bottles and played cards on a wooden table that was set up under a palm tree that had coconuts hanging from it. Mango and Banjo couldn't believe their eyes. They had never seen humans like these before. They looked mean and scary and dangerous. They wondered what they were doing here and why they had coconuts. They decided to hide behind some bushes and watch them carefully. Maybe they could find a way to get some coconuts without being noticed or caught. Mango and Banjo watched the pirates for a while. They saw that they were busy with their drinking and gambling, and didn't pay much attention to their surroundings. They also noticed that there were many coconuts on the ground, some of them cracked open and empty, others still whole and full. They realized that the pirates had been eating and drinking coconuts and had thrown away the leftovers. Mango and Banjo thought that maybe they could sneak up to the table and grab some coconuts without being seen. They waited for the right moment, when the pirates were distracted by their game or their rum. Then they crawled out of the bushes and moved slowly towards the table. They were almost there. Their hands were reaching out to the coconuts, when suddenly one of the pirates squawked loudly, "Ahoy! Ahoy! Intruders! Intruders!" The pirates looked up and saw Mango and Banjo. They jumped to their feet and grabbed their weapons. They shouted angrily and ran towards them. "Who are you? What are you doing here? How dare you steal our coconuts?" Mango and Banjo were terrified. They had been caught red-handed. They had no chance to escape or fight back. They thought they were doomed, but then something unexpected happened. A huge wave came crashing on shore, sweeping everything in its path. It hit the table and the pirates, knocking them down and dragging them into the sea. It also hit Mango and Banjo, lifting them up and carrying them away from the danger. They held on to each other tightly as they were tossed around by the water. They felt dizzy and scared, but also relieved. They had escaped from the pirates. They hoped that they would survive this ordeal. They also hoped that they would find some coconuts. They needed them more than ever. Mango and Banjo were carried by the wave for a long time. They lost track of where they were and how far they had gone. They felt cold and wet, and their limbs were sore from the impact. They wondered if they would ever see the forest or their friends again. They tried to stay calm and hopeful, but it was hard. They prayed for a miracle, and then they saw one. They saw a small island in the distance, with green trees and white sand. It looked like a paradise. They felt a surge of joy and excitement. They had found land. They paddled towards the island as fast as they could. They reached the shore and dragged themselves out of the water. They collapsed on the sand and breathed deeply. They had made it. They were alive. They hugged each other and thanked the sky. They had never been so happy. They looked around and saw that the island was beautiful and peaceful. There were flowers and fruits everywhere, and birds and butterflies flying in the air, but most importantly, there were coconuts. Lots and lots of coconuts. They grew on tall palm trees that lined the beach. They were big and round and brown, and they looked delicious. Mango and Banjo couldn't believe their luck. They had found coconuts. They ran towards the palm trees and climbed up to get some coconuts. They used their teeth to crack them open and drink their water. It was sweet and refreshing, and it quenched their thirst. They also ate some of the white flesh inside, which was soft and tasty, and it filled their stomachs. They felt energized and refreshed. They had never tasted anything so good. They smiled at each other and nodded. They had done it. They had gotten coconuts.